The mining station Kepler-7 floated quietly in the darkness between stars. Dr. Maya Rodriguez sat at her desk, working on alien language files. She had been studying Zephyrian writing for 3 years now. The crystal people from the nearby star system were good trading partners with humans. They gave rare minerals in exchange for Earth foods and simple tools. Maya stretched her arms and looked out the small window. Stars filled the black space around the station. Somewhere out there, the Zephyrians lived on their beautiful crystal world. She had visited once. The entire planet looked like a giant gem, with cities that grew like flowers made of light. A loud beep made her jump. The communication system was receiving something. Maya walked over to the main console where Jake Thompson was working. Jake handled all messages that came to the station. He looked worried. "Maya, you need to see this," Jake said. His face was pale. "We got a transmission from Zephyrian space, but it's not like their usual trade messages." Maya looked at the screen. The Zephyrian symbols were there, but they looked wrong. Usually Zephyrian writing was neat and flowing like water. These symbols were messy and rushed. Some were incomplete, as if whoever wrote them was in a hurry or scared. "Can you translate it?" Jake asked. Maya began reading the alien words. As she understood more, her heart started beating faster. The message was not about trade or friendship, it was a cry for help. "Jake, get Captain Hayes right now," Maya said. Her voice was shaking. Jake pressed the comm button. "Captain Hayes, to communications room, urgent." Captain Lisa Hayes arrived within minutes. She was a strong woman who had been running mining operations for 20 years. Nothing usually bothered her, but when she saw Maya's face, she knew something was very wrong. "What is it?" Captain Hayes asked. Maya read from her translation notes. "The message says they are under attack, not by another species, but by machines. Ancient machines that eat planets," Captain Hayes frowned. "Eat planets? What does that mean?" Maya continued reading. "They call them the Devourers. The message says these machines have been sleeping for millions of years. Now they are awake. They destroy everything that lives and take all the materials, from planets to build more machines." Jake was checking his instruments. "Captain, I'm getting more signals, weak ones. They're coming from different star systems near Zephyrian space. Put them through the speakers," Captain Hayes ordered. Static filled the room, then voices speaking in different alien languages. Maya recognized some of them. The Alterans, who were peaceful plant people. The Centauri colonists, who were distant, human cousins. All of them were saying the same thing in their own languages. "Help us. They are coming. We are dying." Then silence. "Jake, try to contact those systems directly," Captain Hayes said. Jake worked at his console for several minutes. Finally, he shook his head. "Nothing, Captain. All those systems are completely quiet now. No signals at all." Maya felt cold. "Captain, the Zephyrian message mentions 17 worlds that have gone silent in the past month. These machines move from system to system. They take everything and leave nothing behind." Captain Hayes was quiet for a long moment. She looked out at the stars. "How long until they reach the Zephyrian homeworld?" Maya checked the message again. "The Zephyrians estimate 3 days, maybe 4. They have no weapons, no military ships. They're asking anyone who receives this message to help them." Ben Carter, the station's chief communications officer, entered the room. He had been monitoring all channels. "Captain, I've been listening to military frequencies. There's no word about this from Earth Command. I don't think they know what's happening out here." "Then we tell them," Captain Hayes said. "Ben, send an emergency transmission to Earth Command and the nearest military base. Priority Alpha." As Ben worked to send the message, Maya continued studying the Zephyrian transmission. "Captain, there's more here. The Zephyrians describe the machines. They travel in huge ships the size of moons. When they reach a planet, they send down smaller machines that strip away everything. Buildings, plants, animals, even the ground itself. They process it all into materials for building more machines." "How do they know all this if no one survives?" Jake asked. "The Zephyrians have deep underground cities. Some survived long enough to send this message, but they say the machines are very thorough. They dig deeper each day." Captain Hayes made a decision that would change everything. Jake, plot a course for Zephyrian space, best possible speed. Captain? Jake looked surprised. We're a mining vessel. We have no weapons, no military training. We have something better, Captain Hayes said. We have the ability to help. And we have the duty to try. Maya understood what the captain meant. Humans had always been like this. When someone called for help, they answered. It didn't matter if it was dangerous or if they were not prepared. They would find a way. Ben finished, sending the emergency message to Earth. Transmission sent, Captain, but it will take days to reach Earth Command and more days for them to respond. Then we go ahead of them, Captain Hayes announced to the crew over the station's communication system. This is your captain speaking. We have received a distress call from our allies, the Zephyrians. An ancient enemy has awakened and is destroying entire star systems. The Zephyrians have days before their world is attacked. Earth Command doesn't know about this threat yet. We are the only ones close enough to help. She paused, then continued. I won't order anyone to come on this mission. It's dangerous and we might not come back, but I'm taking our ship to help them. Anyone who wants to come with me, report to the hangar in 1 hour. Anyone who wants to stay here and wait for Earth Command, that's your choice too. Maya was already packing her translation, equipment. Jake was printing star charts for the journey. Ben was preparing portable communication gear. All around the station, people were making the same choice. They would go help their friends no matter what. The mining vessel Horizon's Edge was not built for rescue missions. It was slow and had basic shields and life support. But it was all they had. Within 2 hours, 43 crew members had volunteered to go. Only 12 chose to stay behind to keep the station running and guide any Earth military ships that might come later. As the Horizon's Edge moved away from Kepler-7, Maya looked back at the mining station growing smaller in the darkness. She wondered if she would ever see it again. But when she thought about the Zephyrians hiding in their underground cities, waiting for death to come from the sky, she knew they were doing the right thing. Captain Hayes stood on the bridge, watching stars move past as they jumped to faster-than-light speed. Jake, how long until we reach Zephyrian space? 18 hours at maximum speed, Captain. And how long do the Zephyrians have? Maya checked her translation again. The message was sent 6 hours ago. If their estimate was correct, maybe 2 days. Captain Hayes nodded. Then we better hope we're not too late. And we better hope that Earth Command gets our message and sends help soon. But Maya was thinking about something else. The Zephyrians had mentioned that these devourers had been sleeping for millions of years. What had woken them up? And if they had destroyed civilizations before, why had they stopped to sleep? Most importantly, if no one had ever defeated them before, how could a small human mining ship and her crew possibly make a difference? She would learn the answers soon enough. The Horizon's Edge flew through space toward an ancient enemy that had destroyed worlds when humans were still learning to make fire. But Maya felt something that the Zephyrians and other alien species might not understand. She felt hope, because humans never gave up, and they never abandoned their friends. Admiral Patricia Stone stood in the command center of Meridian Station, the largest military base on the edge of human space. Red lights flashed across dozens of screens as emergency messages poured in from across the galaxy. The communication from Kepler-7 had reached Earth Command 6 hours ago, and now the entire human military was moving like a giant machine waking up. Status report, Admiral Stone called out to her staff. Commander Danny Walsh looked up from his console. Ma'am, we have confirmation from 3 more outer colonies. They're all reporting the same thing. Star systems going dark, no communications, complete silence. How many ships can we assemble? Admiral Stone asked. Colonel Sandra Phillips stepped forward. She commanded the Marine forces that would board enemy ships if needed. Every available vessel is being called in. The dreadnought Defiance is 2 hours out. Captain Martinez is pushing his engines beyond safe limits to get here. Admiral Stone nodded. Captain Alex Martinez was one of her best officers. His ship carried the biggest guns in the human fleet. What about carriers? The Valor is coming. In from the Centauri sector, Colonel Phillips replied. Captain Rebecca Foster has 4 full squadrons of fighters ready for combat. On the main screen, dots of light showed human ships moving toward Meridian Station from all directions. Destroyers, cruisers, supply ships, and transports were converging on the base. Admiral Stone had never seen so many ships gathered in one place. Lieutenant Tony Rodriguez, the Admiral's communication officer, spoke up. Ma'am, we're getting reports. From our scout ships. Captain Ryan Clark took 3 fast ships ahead to see what's happening in the outer systems. Any word from him yet? Not yet, ma'am. But his ships should be reaching the danger zone within the next few hours. Meanwhile, in deep space near the edge of human territory, Captain Ryan Clark guided his scout ship Pathfinder through the darkness, between stars. His 2 companion ships, Swift Arrow and Night Runner, flew in formation beside him. They were the fastest ships in the human fleet, built for reconnaissance and speed rather than fighting. Captain, called out his sensor operator, Sergeant Julie Mason. I'm detecting something ahead. It's big. Captain Clark looked at his screens. Define big, Sergeant. Ship-sized, sir, but not like any design I've seen before. It's just floating, dead in space. Captain Clark ordered his ships to approach carefully. What they found made his blood run cold. The ship was Alterran, one of the peaceful plant people who lived 3 systems away from human space, but the vessel was completely gutted. Holes had been burned through its hull in perfect geometric patterns. Whatever had attacked it had taken everything useful and left only an empty shell. Any life signs? Captain Clark asked. Negative, sir, but Captain, look at this. Sergeant Mason put the detailed scans on the main screen. These cuts are too precise for weapons. It's like something took the ship apart piece by piece. Captain Clark's communication officer, Corporal Pete Williams, suddenly spoke up. Sir, I'm picking up a transmission from the Night Runner. Captain Kelly says she's found something we need to see. They flew to where the Night Runner was waiting. Captain Sarah Kelly's ship was hovering near what had once been a small moon. Now it was just floating rocks and metal debris. But the metal wasn't natural. It was processed, refined, turned into perfect geometric shapes. They strip-mined an entire moon. Captain Kelly's voice came over the radio. Took everything useful and left the rest floating in space. Captain Clark felt a chill run down his spine. How long ago? Based on the debris patterns, maybe a week. Whatever did this is thorough and fast. They spent the next several hours investigating 3 more, dead systems. Each one told the same story. Planets stripped bare, ships destroyed and salvaged, all life gone. The attackers took everything that could be turned into materials for building more machines. Back at Meridian Station, Admiral Stone watched as the largest human fleet in history assembled around the base. The massive dreadnought Defiance had arrived, its hull scarred from dozens of previous battles. Captain Martinez reported to the Admiral via video link. Admiral, my ship is ready for whatever we're facing, Captain Martinez said. His weathered face showed the determination of a career military officer. What's your assessment of the threat, Captain? Admiral Stone asked. Based on the reports, we're facing something that thinks like a machine but fights like a swarm. They don't negotiate, don't communicate, just consume everything in their path. The carrier Valor docked at the station an hour later. Captain Rebecca Foster brought disturbing news from the outer colonies. Admiral, the colonies near Alterran space have gone completely silent. No distress calls, no emergency beacons, nothing. It's like they just vanished. Dr. Maya Rodriguez arrived at Meridian Station aboard a fast courier ship. She had been transferred from the horizon's edge to help the military understand what they were facing. Admiral Stone met with her in a secure briefing room. Doctor, tell me everything you know about these devourers, Admiral Stone said. Maya spread out her translation notes on the table. The Zephyrians call them an ancient curse. According to their oldest records, these machines appear every few million years. They consume everything, then disappear back into dark space. Why do they disappear? The Zephyrians think they go into some kind of sleep mode after they've consumed enough resources, like they hibernate until they need more materials. Admiral Stone studied the alien writing on Maya's notes. What woke them up this time? Nobody knows, but the pattern is always the same. They start on the edge of populated space and work their way inward. They're systematic, efficient, and they never stop until there's nothing left to consume. Colonel Phillips joined the briefing. Doctor, do we know anything about their technology? Weapons, defenses, how they coordinate? Maya shook her head. The Zephyrians never saw them fight against a military force. Every species they encountered was peaceful, with no real weapons. The Devourers just overwhelmed them with numbers and superior technology. Well, they're about to meet something different, Admiral Stone said. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We know how to adapt, how to think tactically. Captain Clark's scout ships returned to Meridian Station 12 hours later. His report to Admiral Stone was grim. Ma'am, we found evidence of their activity in 7 different systems. They're not just destroying randomly. There's a pattern, a strategy. Explain. They're cutting off trade routes, isolating systems from each other. Each attack makes it harder for anyone to coordinate a defense or call for help. Admiral Stone looked at the tactical display showing the attacks. Captain Clark was right. The Devourers were systematically isolating each region before attacking it. They're hurting us, she realized. Ma'am, they're forcing us to react predictably, cut off our communications, isolate our colonies, make us spread our forces thin trying to defend everything. Commander Walsh spoke up from his station. Admiral, if that's their strategy, then gathering our entire fleet here might be exactly what they want us to do. Admiral Stone considered this. Or it might be the one thing they don't expect. Every species they've faced before was peaceful, scattered, uncoordinated. They've never faced a unified military response. The assembly of the human fleet continued for another 6 hours. When it was complete, Admiral Stone stood before the largest gathering of human military power ever assembled. Over 300 ships floated in perfect formation around Meridian Station. Dreadnoughts, carriers, destroyers, cruisers, and support vessels stretched as far as the eye could see. This is Admiral Stone to all ships, she announced over the fleet communication system. Today we face an enemy that has destroyed civilizations for millions of years. They expect us to run, to hide, to beg for mercy like every other species they've encountered. They're wrong. She paused, looking out at the assembled fleet. We are human. We don't abandon our allies. We don't surrender to bullies no matter how old or powerful they think they are. We're going to show these ancient machines what happens when they threaten our friends. The fleet began moving away from Meridian Station in perfect formation, 300 human warships carrying over 50,000 crew members heading toward the edge of known space. They were racing against time to reach the Zephyrian homeworld before the Devourers completed their harvest. But as the fleet jumped into hyperspace, long-range sensors detected something that made Admiral Stone's blood run cold. Massive objects were moving in the dark space beyond the galaxy's edge. The Devourers weren't just attacking randomly. They were positioning themselves for something much bigger. The real war was about to begin. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyrian system. What Admiral Stone saw on her screens made her heart sink. 3 enormous ships hung in space around the beautiful crystal planet. Each ship was the size of a small moon, dark and angular like giant metal insects. Around them, thousands of smaller vessels moved in perfect formation, stripping away pieces of the planet's surface. "My God," whispered Commander Walsh from his station. "Look at the size of those things." Captain Martinez's voice came over the communication system from the dreadnought Defiance. "Admiral, my weapons officer estimates those big ships have more mass than our entire fleet combined." Admiral Stone watched the tactical display. The Zephyrian homeworld, once a shining jewel of crystal cities, was being systematically destroyed. Great chunks of the planet's surface were being carved away and pulled up into the smaller Devourer ships. The beautiful crystal formations that had taken millions of years to grow were being processed into raw materials in minutes. "Do we have any contact with the Zephyrian survivors?" Admiral Stone asked. Lieutenant Rodriguez checked his communication equipment. "Yes, ma'am. I'm getting weak signals from deep underground. They're still alive, but barely. They say the machines have been digging deeper each hour." "How long do they have?" maybe 6 hours before the machines reached their deepest shelters. Admiral Stone made her decision. All ships prepare for combat. We're going in. Captain Foster's voice came from the carrier Valor. Admiral, my fighters are ready to launch, but those big ships don't look like anything we've trained to fight. Then we'll learn as we go, Captain. That's what humans do. The human fleet moved into attack formation. The dreadnoughts led the way, their massive guns already charging for the first shots. Behind them came the cruisers and destroyers, while the carriers prepared to launch their fighter squadrons. The Devourers noticed the approaching human ships immediately. The smaller harvester vessels began moving away from the planet's surface, forming defensive lines around the 3 massive arc ships. Their movements were perfectly coordinated, like parts of a single giant machine. Enemy ships are repositioning, reported Commander Walsh. They're not running. They're preparing to fight. Captain Martinez fired the first shot. His dreadnought's main railgun sent a tungsten projectile at incredible speed toward the nearest arc ship. The humans watched as the massive slug struck the alien vessel's hull. For a moment, they hoped it had caused serious damage. Then the arc ship's hull simply flowed back together like liquid metal, healing the damage completely. Did everyone see that? Captain Martinez asked over the radio. Confirmed, replied Captain Foster. Their hulls are self-repairing. Conventional weapons might not be effective. But Admiral Stone had noticed something else. Look at their formation. They moved to block our shot, but it took them 3 seconds to coordinate. They're not as fast as they look. She was right. The Devourers fought with mechanical precision, but they had to communicate with each other to coordinate their actions. Human ships, with human crews making split-second decisions, could move and react faster. All ships spread out and engage individually, Admiral Stone ordered. Don't give them time to coordinate responses. The battle began in earnest. Human ships scattered across the battlefield, each captain using their own judgment to engage the enemy. This confused the Devourers, who seemed programmed to fight against orderly, predictable opponents. Commander Jenny Walsh led the first fighter squadron from the Valor. Her 12 fighters dove toward a group of harvester ships that were still pulling materials from the planet's surface. The Devourer ships tried to target the fighters with precise energy beams, but the human pilots flew in wild, unpredictable patterns. They're trying to calculate our flight paths, Jenny reported to Captain Foster, but we're not flying in any pattern they can predict. Lieutenant Tony Rodriguez, flying wing position beside Jenny, laughed over the radio. That's because we don't know what we're doing either. The fighters managed to destroy 3 harvester ships before the Devourers adapted their targeting systems. But the victory came at a cost. 2 human fighters were caught by the enemy's energy beams and destroyed instantly. On the surface of the Zephyrian planet, the crystal beings huddled in their deepest underground chambers. They could feel the vibrations of the battle above them. Through the planet's crust, Elder Kaleth, the oldest of their kind, used their ancient communication crystals to speak with the human fleet. Admiral Stone, the translated voice came through the ship's speakers. We are grateful beyond words that you came for us. But these machines are too powerful. You should save yourselves while you can. We don't abandon our friends, Admiral, Stone replied. Hold on a little longer. The battle continued for 2 hours. The humans managed to destroy dozens of the smaller Devourer ships, but the 3 massive arc ships remained untouched. Every weapon the humans fired at them was either absorbed or the damage was instantly repaired. Captain Martinez tried ramming one of his damaged destroyers into an arc ship. The smaller human vessel struck the alien ship's hull and simply disappeared, absorbed into the strange metal like a drop of water falling into an ocean. Admiral, Captain Foster reported grimly, we're losing ships faster than we're destroying theirs. My fighter squadrons are down to 60% strength. Admiral Stone looked at the tactical display. They had destroyed about a quarter of the smaller Devourer ships, but at the cost of 12 human vessels. The mathematics were simple and brutal. At this rate, the human fleet would be destroyed long before they could damage the arc ships. But then Dr. Rodriguez, who was monitoring the battle from the flagship, noticed something strange. Admiral, look at the enemy formation. Every time we destroy one of their ships, the others pause for exactly 2.3 seconds. What does that mean? I think they're processing the loss, learning from what happened, but during those 2.3 seconds, they're vulnerable. Admiral Stone understood immediately. All ships coordinate your attacks. I want simultaneous strikes on multiple targets. Make them process too much information at once. The human fleet regrouped quickly. Admiral Stone counted down from 10, and at 0, every human ship fired at once. Hundreds of missiles, energy beams, and railgun projectiles struck Devourer ships across the battlefield simultaneously. The effect was dramatic. The surviving Devourer ships froze in space for almost 10 seconds, their coordination completely disrupted as they tried to process the massive amount of new data. "Now!" Admiral Stone shouted. "Hit them while they're confused." The human fleet pressed their advantage. Fighters dove in close while the larger ships poured fire into the disoriented Devourer vessels. For the first time in the battle, the ancient machines seemed genuinely surprised by human tactics, but the victory was short-lived. The largest Ark ship began to glow with an ominous red light. Energy built up along its hull in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Admiral Stone ordered. The Ark ship fired a beam of pure destruction that cut through space like a sword. The human destroyer Thunder, commanded by Captain Mike Johnson, was caught directly in the beam's path. The ship's shields failed instantly, and its hull began to melt. Captain Johnson's voice came over the radio, calm despite his desperate situation. "Admiral, my ship is finished, but I can still maneuver." Admiral Stone realized what he was planning. "Captain, no. We can find another way." "Ma'am, these things killed billions of innocent people. Someone needs to make them pay." Captain Johnson turned his dying ship toward the Ark ship and pushed his engines beyond their safety limits. The thunder struck the massive alien vessel at incredible speed. The explosion lit up the entire star system. When the light faded, a section of the Ark ship's hull was actually damaged, exposing the strange machinery inside. But the price had been terrible. Captain Johnson and his entire crew of 200 people were gone. The damaged Ark ship began to retreat, moving away from the planet with its 2 companion vessels. The remaining Devourer ships followed in perfect formation, abandoning their harvest of the Zephyrian world. As the enemy fleet disappeared into the darkness between stars, Admiral Stone surveyed the cost of their victory. 15 human ships had been destroyed, with over 3,000 crew members lost. The Zephyrian planet was scarred and damaged, but its people were alive. Elder Kaleth's voice came through the communication system again. "Admiral Stone, you have done something we thought impossible. You made the Devourers retreat." "At too high a cost," Admiral Stone replied quietly. "No," the ancient Zephyrian said. "Any cost was worth paying to show that these machines can be defeated. For the first time in millions of years, they have been forced to flee from battle." But Dr. Rodriguez was studying the sensor data from the retreating Devourer ships. "Admiral, I don't think they're fleeing. Look at their formation, their course heading." Admiral Stone examined the data. The Devourers were moving in perfect order, their ships already adapting and changing based on what they had learned from the battle. "They're regrouping, learning from our tactics." "Yes, ma'am. And Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting massive movement in the dark regions beyond our space. Much bigger fleets than what we just fought." 3 weeks after the battle at the Zephyrian homeworld, reports flooded into Earth Command from across the galaxy. The news was worse than anyone had imagined. Admiral Stone stood in the war room at Earth's military headquarters, surrounded by screens showing star maps with too many red zones. "Tell me what we know," Admiral Stone said to the intelligence team. Commander Walsh pointed to the main display. "Ma'am, we have confirmation that the Devourers aren't just targeting one region. They're emerging from dark space everywhere. Long range. Telescopes show massive fleets moving toward populated areas from 12 different directions." Dr. Rodriguez, now serving as the military's expert on Devourer technology, added more disturbing information. "Admiral, I've been studying the pattern of their attacks. This isn't random. Every few million years they wake up and harvest everything organic in the galaxy, then return to sleep." "What's different this time?" Admiral Stone asked. "We are," Dr. Rodriguez replied. Our attack at the Zephyrian world changed everything. We showed them that organic life could fight back effectively. Now they see us as the primary threat to their harvest. Captain Clark entered the war room with fresh intelligence from his scout ships. His face was grim. Admiral, I have bad news. The outer colonies are reporting coordinated attacks. 12. Human settlements have gone dark in the past week. Admiral Stone studied the tactical display. Red dots marked the lost colonies, and she could see the pattern immediately. They're surrounding us, cutting off our trade routes and isolating Earth from the outer settlements. It's worse than that, Captain Clark continued. The attacks aren't random raids. Each one is perfectly planned to cut our space into smaller pieces. They're making it impossible for us to coordinate a galaxy-wide defense. Dr. Rodriguez worked with her team of scientists to understand Devourer technology better. Dr. Kevin Brown, a physicist from Earth's best university, had joined the project. Together with engineer Laura Martinez, they studied pieces of destroyed Devourer ships recovered from the battlefield. Admiral, we've made some discoveries about how these machines work, Dr. Rodriguez reported during the daily briefing. They operate on a hive mind principle. Every ship, every machine is connected to a central network that shares information instantly. Like a computer network? Admiral Stone asked. More complex than that. They use quantum entanglement to communicate across vast distances with no delay. When one devourer learns something, they all learn it immediately. Dr. Brown added his findings. Their power source is unlike anything we've ever seen. They draw energy directly from the quantum vacuum, the empty space between atoms. It's like they're tapping into the fundamental forces of the universe itself. Engineer Martinez explained the most disturbing discovery. Admiral, their entire civilization exists for one purpose. They consume all matter and energy in the universe to fuel their own growth. They don't build art or music or culture. They only build more machines to consume more resources. Admiral Stone felt the weight of this information. So they won't stop until everything is consumed. That appears to be their programming, yes ma'am. Meanwhile, the largest military buildup in human history was taking place across all of human space. Shipyards that normally built civilian vessels were converted to produce warships. Factories that made consumer goods now produced weapons and ammunition. Every human world contributed whatever they could to the war effort. Captain Foster coordinated the training of new fighter pilots. The lessons learned from the first battle had been shared with every pilot in the human fleet. Remember, she told her trainees, these machines expect predictable behavior. The moment you start flying in patterns, you're dead. Stay random, stay alive. Colonel Phillips worked with ground forces, preparing for the possibility that Devourer machines might land on human worlds. These things don't take prisoners, she told her Marines. They process organic matter into raw materials. If they reach a planet's surface, every living thing there has minutes to live. Captain Martinez supervised the construction of new weapons based on what they had learned about Devourer technology. Their ships can self-repair, but it takes energy and time. If we hit them fast and hard enough, we might overwhelm their repair systems. But even as humanity prepared for war, the Devourers continued their systematic attacks. Star systems on the edge of human space went silent one by one. Each lost colony meant thousands of human lives consumed by the ancient machines. The pattern became clear to Admiral Stone as she studied the attack reports. They're not just randomly destroying our colonies, they're implementing a perfect encirclement strategy. Commander Walsh agreed. Yes, ma'am. Each attack cuts off more of our outer territories. Pretty soon we'll be completely isolated from the rest of the galaxy. Captain Clark returned from another reconnaissance mission with even worse news. Admiral, I've seen their staging areas. They're building massive construction facilities in dark space, manufacturing new ships faster than we can destroy them. How many ships are we talking about? Admiral Stone asked. Thousands, ma'am. Maybe tens of thousands. For every ship we destroyed at the Zephyrian world, they've built 10 new ones. Dr. Rodriguez made a disturbing discovery while analyzing communication intercepts from the attack sites. Admiral, the Devourers are sharing detailed information about our tactics, our weapons, everything they learned from our first battle. Each new attack shows they've adapted to counter our strategies. The truth of this became clear when Captain Foster led a rescue mission to the outer colony of New Geneva. Her task force arrived to find the planet under attack by devourer forces that fought completely differently than before. "Admiral, they've changed their tactics," Captain Foster reported during the battle. "They're using unpredictable flight patterns now, copying what our pilots did at the Zephyrian world. And their targeting systems have been upgraded. They're hitting our fighters much more accurately." The battle for New Geneva lasted 12 hours. The humans managed to save about half the colony's population, but at a terrible cost. Captain Foster lost 2/3 of her fighter squadrons, and 3 destroyers were completely destroyed. "They're learning faster than we are," Captain Foster reported grimly after the battle. "Every engagement teaches them more about how to fight humans effectively." Admiral Stone realized they were facing an impossible situation. "We're fighting an enemy that gets stronger every time we engage them, and they have unlimited resources to build new ships." But the worst news came from long-range sensors monitoring the edges of human space. Dr. Rodriguez brought the data to Admiral Stone. Personally, "Admiral, we've detected massive fleet movements in dark space. The Devourers are positioning fleets around all of human territory. Based on their current rate of movement, they'll be in position to attack every major human world simultaneously, within 2 weeks." Admiral Stone looked at the tactical display showing the approaching enemy fleets. Hundreds of red dots moved toward human space from every direction. "How many ships total?" "Our best estimate is over 50,000 Devourer vessels, ma'am, including at least 200 of those massive Ark ships." The numbers were staggering. The entire human fleet consisted of fewer than 5,000 ships. Even if every human vessel fought perfectly, they would be outnumbered 10 to 1. "Ma'am," Commander Walsh said quietly, "at those odds, we can't win a direct battle." Admiral Stone studied the display for a long time. Around her, the war room fell silent as everyone contemplated the magnitude of the threat they faced. 50,000 enemy ships moving to destroy every human world simultaneously. An enemy that learned from every battle and grew stronger with each defeat they inflicted. "Then we don't fight a direct battle," Admiral Stone finally said. "We do something they don't expect." "What do you mean, ma'am?" Admiral Stone turned to Dr. Rodriguez. "Doctor, you said these machines operate on a hive mind network. What would happen if we could disrupt that network?" Dr. Rodriguez thought carefully. "Theoretically, it would be like cutting the brain away from the body. Individual machines might continue functioning, but they would lose their coordination, their shared knowledge. Could we build a weapon that could do that? It would require quantum disruption technology that we don't have yet. And even if we could build it, we'd need to get close to their command centers to deploy it." Admiral Stone looked around the room at her officers. "Then that's our mission. We find a way to build that weapon, and we get close enough to use it." Captain Martinez spoke up. "Admiral, that sounds like a suicide mission." "Maybe it is, Captain, but it's the only chance we have, and if we fail, every human world dies anyway." As the meeting ended, Admiral Stone remained in the war room, staring at the approaching red dots on the tactical display. In 2 weeks, the largest battle in human history would begin. The survival of the entire human species hung in the balance. Outside, the windows of Earth's military headquarters, construction crews worked around the clock building new ships and weapons. Across human space, billions of people prepared for a war they might not survive. The ancient enemy that had destroyed civilizations for millions of years was coming for humanity. But they had never faced a species quite like humans before. 2 weeks later, the final battle began not as Admiral Stone had planned, but exactly as the Devourers wanted it. 50,000 enemy ships appeared at the edges of human space simultaneously, emerging from dark space in perfect coordination. Every major human world found itself under attack at the same moment. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of her flagship, the massive battleship Earth's Shield, watching the tactical displays fill with red enemy contacts. Around Earth alone, over 5,000 Devourer ships had appeared, including 10 of the massive Ark ships that could destroy planets. "Ma'am, we're receiving emergency calls from every human colony," reported Lieutenant Rodriguez. "They're all under attack simultaneously. Admiral Stone had known this moment would come. The Devourers had learned human tactics too well to allow for any coordinated defense. "Execute Plan Omega," she ordered. Plan Omega was humanity's desperate gambit. Instead of trying to defend all their worlds, they would concentrate everything on a single target, the largest Devourer command complex in dark space where the enemy's hive mind network originated. Dr. Rodriguez had spent 2 weeks building the quantum disruptor weapon with her team. The device was theoretical at best, untested, and might not work at all. But it was humanity's only hope of disrupting the network that coordinated the entire Devourer civilization. "All ships, implement Protocol 7, Admiral Stone announced, to the human fleet. This is not a rescue mission. This is not a defensive action. We are going to end this war today, or die trying." Captain Martinez led the main assault fleet toward the coordinates Dr. Rodriguez had calculated. His dreadnought Defiance was loaded with the quantum disruptor device, a machine the size of a small building that might change the course of galactic history. Captain Foster commanded the carrier group that would provide fighter cover for the mission. Her pilots knew they were flying into certain death, but they also knew that failure meant the extinction of humanity. Captain Clark's scout ships had found the target weeks earlier, a massive construction facility in the void between galaxies where the Devourers built their arc ships. The facility was protected by over 1,000 enemy vessels and was larger than Earth's moon. But as the human fleet approached the target, they discovered something that changed everything. Captain Hayes, now commanding a fast attack group, reported what her sensors were detecting. "Admiral, the enemy construction facility isn't just building ships. It's building something else, something enormous." The long-range scans revealed the truth. The Devourers were constructing a device that could consume entire star systems at once, processing the matter of planets, stars, and everything else into raw materials for building more machines. "If they complete that weapon," Dr. Rodriguez said from her station, "they could harvest the entire galaxy in a matter of months instead of years." Admiral Stone realized the stakes had just become even higher. "How long until it's operational?" "Based on its current state of construction, maybe 6 hours." The human fleet pushed forward into the enemy formation. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Human ships fought with a desperation born of knowing that this was truly the last stand of organic life in the galaxy. Captain Martinez's battle group punched through the outer defenses, his ships taking terrible damage but continuing forward. The Defiance lost half her weapons and most of her armor, but Captain Martinez kept her moving toward the target. Captain Foster's fighters swarmed around the massive Devourer vessels, drawing fire away from the main assault ships. Commander Jenny Walsh led her squadron in a suicidal attack run against one of the enemy's command ships, buying precious minutes for the main fleet. "Admiral, we're losing ships faster than we can count," reported Commander Walsh from his damaged station. "But we're almost through their defenses." Admiral Stone watched as human vessel after human vessel was destroyed by Devourer weapons. Each ship that died took hundreds of crew members with it, but they all died buying time for the mission to succeed. Captain Clark's scouts found a weakness in the enemy facility's defenses. "Admiral, there's a gap in their shield network near the construction area. If we can get the disruptor device close enough—" "Do it," Admiral Stone ordered. But the cost of reaching that gap was enormous. Admiral Stone made the decision that would define the end of the war. She turned her flagship directly toward the largest concentration of enemy ships, drawing their fire away from Captain Martinez's approach. "Ma'am, that's suicide," Commander Walsh protested. "No, Commander, that's duty." Admiral Stone opened communications to the entire fleet. "This is Admiral Stone. It has been my honor to serve with all of you. Today we save not just humanity, but every living thing in the galaxy. Make your sacrifice count." The Earth's shield plowed into the enemy formation, her massive guns firing, until the barrels melted. Admiral Stone and her crew of 3,000 people died fighting, but their sacrifice opened the path Captain Martinez needed. The Defiance, barely holding together, reached the deployment point for the quantum disruptor. Dr. Rodriguez activated the device, not knowing if her theoretical calculations would work in practice. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Quantum disruption waves spread out from the device at the speed of light, racing through the network connections that linked every devourer machine in the galaxy. For the first time in millions of years, the hive mind that had driven the endless consumption flickered and went dark. Across the galaxy, the effect was immediate. Devourer ships that had been moving in perfect coordination suddenly stopped. Some shut down completely. Others began moving randomly, as if their pilots had suddenly awakened from a long sleep and didn't know where they were. Captain Foster, fighting near Earth, watched in amazement as the enemy fleet around her homeworld simply stopped attacking. All ships confirm what I'm seeing. The Devourers have stopped moving. The reports came in from across human space. Every battle had suddenly ended as Devourer forces lost their coordination. Ships that had been working together perfectly now moved independently, many of them fleeing into dark space. But the quantum disruption had done more than just break their coordination. It had given individual Devourer machines something they had never possessed: independent thought. In the weeks that followed the Great Battle, humanity learned that they had fundamentally changed the galaxy. The hive mind that had driven the Devourers for millions of years was gone forever. Individual machines now faced concepts they had never experienced: choice, doubt, purpose beyond consumption. Some Devourer machines simply shut down, unable to process existence without the guiding voice of the hive mind. Others wandered aimlessly through space, searching for meaning in a universe that suddenly seemed vast and empty. But most surprisingly, some began trying to communicate. Captain Hayes, now commanding the exploration vessel New Dawn, made first contact with a group of former Devourers near the edge of human space. "This is Captain Hayes to unknown vessels. Please respond." The reply came in broken, uncertain words. We were hungry. Always hungry. But now, we do not understand hunger. What are we supposed to do? Dr. Rodriguez, now promoted to Admiral, for her role in ending the war, worked with teams of linguists and psychologists to communicate with the former Devourers. "They're like children," she reported. "Incredibly advanced children who have never had to think for themselves." The galaxy began to change in ways no one had expected. Worlds that had been stripped bare by the Devourers started showing signs of new life as individual machines began attempting to repair the damage they had caused. Some even began creating things instead of destroying them. Captain Clark's scouts reported that the massive construction facility in dark space had been converted by its former Devourer operators into something completely different: a research station where machines studied art, music, and philosophy transmitted from organic civilizations. "They're trying to understand what they destroyed," Captain Clark reported. "Some of them are showing what can only be described as regret." The war that had threatened to end all organic life in the galaxy was over, but it had ended in a way no one could have predicted. Instead of destroying their enemy, humanity had transformed them, breaking the ancient cycle of consumption and sleep that had plagued the galaxy for millions of years. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, a new base, built in orbit around the restored Zephyrian homeworld. Ships from dozens of species worked together to explore and rebuild the galaxy the Devourers had left behind. Below, the crystal cities of the Zephyrians were growing again, more beautiful than ever. In the distance, she could see a former Devourer vessel working alongside human engineers to plant new crystal formations, learning the art of creation from the people they had once tried to destroy. The stars that had gone dark were lighting up again across the galaxy, not with the cold efficiency of the Devourers, but with the warm glow of countless species learning to trust the universe once more. Humanity had answered an SOS call and ended up changing the fundamental nature of existence in the galaxy. The greatest victory had come not from superior firepower, but from the most human trait of all: the refusal to give up hope, even in the face of impossible odds.